Welcome back, church family, to our daily devotional series, Worship Over Worry. We hope that this is an encouragement to you. Enjoy.
Well, hey, church, I'm doing today's devotion. We're going to be looking at Psalm 55, specifically verse 22. But 22 is at the very end of the psalm, so I'm going to just kind of take us through, talk about what leads up to that. So David is writing this, and he is once again on the run. He finds himself in this situation a lot. And unfortunately, it's someone that he used to be close with, someone he used to trust, and they've now turned on him. He feels betrayed, he feels threatened, and it's not looking good for him. And early in the psalm, he says in verse 5, "Fear and trembling come upon me, and horror overwhelms me." Those are pretty big words, fear, trembling, horror. And you think, who else has seen God do more miraculous, amazing things in his life? He killed a giant with a slingshot. So he should, be able to hold it together. But I think it's encouraging to me to know that even someone who's seen God come through multiple times, he still can cycle back to that fear and trembling. But what's interesting is that he doesn't stay there. As that psalm continues, he goes on to remind himself about all of God's strength and his might and his power and his faithfulness. And I know that he's drawing on those memories of what the Lord has done for him previously. So I think, that's the necessary next step, that we shouldn't condemn ourselves for experiencing fear in any time, times like now, times like whatever can happen in life. And we shouldn't get stuck there. We should move on to God's promises, and Scripture is of course a great way to do that. Our own testimony and also the testimony of our friends are another great way to move on. And I want to pause here and kind of ask ourselves two questions, two things to meditate on before we get to the answer that we're going to get to. Verse 22 is a great verse, but let's focus on how big the problem can feel before we just slap an answer to it. So, question 1. Is the Lord really enough for me? Is my faith in him, my knowledge, my trust, is that enough for me? Is he where I find my security? I think maybe right now maybe if we have like stuff in the stock market and whatnot, we're starting to feel some of our security kind of slip away. Maybe if we didn't get all the food we were planning to get, or still can't find toilet paper, maybe some of that is chipping away at our security. And I think we should meditate on that and think about where am I putting my security? Where is my security based? We refer the name that we give the grouping of things like stocks and bonds and whatnot. We call those financial securities, and I feel like that's a big tell to how we look at finances, how humankind has always had this massive hurdle of money and money taking the throne where God should be. So that's one, understanding and thinking about all the things that we consider and put our security in that is actually not very secure at all. Secondly, can an experience like this, uncertainty, can I gain empathy from this? Are there people, can I imagine people who have for most of their life experienced the uncertainty that I'm experiencing right now? If I'm worried about a grocery store being closed next week and do I have enough food, what about those who that's their worry every week? Are they going to have enough money for the grocery store, next week? Because if you don't have money for it, the grocery store is basically closed to you. So I feel like that's a gift that we can all experience right now is, unforeseen, uncertain times. What can we learn, and what kind of empathy can we gain, and how can we see that as a gift for how we can treat and support others in the future? All right, so those are the two questions for you guys to meditate on, and if I can encourage you can do that now or later in the day. You can pause the video, whatever. But I'm now going to read the answer. So Psalm 55, verse 22, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never permit the righteous to be moved." In the Amplified version, along with "cast your burden on the Lord," it says "release them." and he will sustain you. Also, he will uphold you. He will never permit the righteous to be moved, to slip, fall, or fail. So, I think I really love the releasing word and the upholding word, and this is why. So, a little more imagination meditation here. So, imagine all these burdens that you're holding on to, your worries, your fears, whatever it is that is kind of drifting in and taking over your mind and stealing your peace away right now. Whatever's stealing your peace away right now, picture those things, embody them, picture them around you. Now you're holding them. They're in your arms. You know, you're choosing, or they're on your mind, they're in your arms. Okay, so picture that. Now, secondly, imagine your false securities. Imagine maybe it's shiny, maybe it's financial, maybe it's food in the pantry. Like, where are you finding your security? But imagine how they're kind of torn and tattered because they're not very strong. Imagine how thin they are. Maybe it's shiny, but it's not, quality clothing. It's not actually giving you protection. It's only a veil of protection. And so you've got your arms full of your burdens. You've wrapped yourself in your false securities. Now I would just encourage you, like verse 22 says, release them. Drop those things to the ground. Now accept the arms of the Father upholding you. That's the promise right now. The Lord upholds us. Let his arms wrap around you. Let him support you, and just feel the warmth of that embrace. Feel that peace. It's supernatural. It's more than anything that finances, that delicious food, that anything else can provide. It's eternal. And I would just encourage you to see how long you can just maintain that knowledge and that trust and that peace today. And I hope that, thoughts like that can kind of get us through times like this, and that times like this can be a gift because we understand where our security truly lies, and we rest in that, and we let the Lord uphold us, and we let his arms continue to be wrapped around us, and we trust that they're there. So my last little bit is there's a song called You Never Let Go by Matt Redman. It's not super current, but it is an oldie and a goodie, and I would just encourage you that if you want to think about some of what I've shared a little bit more in song form and kind of meditate on that and worship in that truth, I would encourage you to look up that song, You Never Let Go by Matt Redman, and I hope that is enjoyable and encouraging for you today. I love you all. Take care.